quickly here, a little update, a couple updates. Jonah is going to go to IR. And then what we talked about, Marv, Amari, and Barron will not make it. They'll be ruled out. And then the rest of the crew, we'll see. I want to take the day today and see how they do today. So take all the time that we're allowed and then make a decision. What do we got?
When did you come to this decision on Jonah, and kind of how big of a blow is that to the offensive line?
He's a starter, good player. Just he wasn't going to be able to play the rest of the year. Needs to have surgery.
You said he needs to.
How has Trey Benson looked in practice to you this week?
Okay. Yep. One day at a time. Get him out there today.
Does he have a chance to go this week?
We'll see how he does today. Come on, Teo. Come on, man. Worth a shot. That's right.
You talked about educating the guys on the penalties to make sure that a situation like last week doesn't happen again. What gives you the confidence that they're able to pick up on it this week?
Yeah, keep hammering it home. You know, I thought we had a good day yesterday. We were fast yesterday, a lot of plays. You know, we point it out, show them, detail it out. You know, got to do a better job of that.
Coach, as a defensive guy, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the whole personnel matching that offenses are trying to do. Teams like the Seahawks and the Rams bringing out 12 and 13 personnel to try to get some advantageous matchups. And some defensive coordinators are playing down the distance as opposed to matching. Just your 2 cents on that, especially with those guys in the division.
That's a really good question. Depends on the play call and what they're trying to do out of it. That's what I would say. It's a layered answer. So the most succinct way that I can say that is you have to understand why they're doing it, what they're trying to get accomplished on those different down and distances, and defend it accordingly.
How do you feel Frier stepped in last week?
I thought he did a good job. He's a guy that's really improved his game, you know, and for the first month or so. You know, he's been on the look team, you know, but we do a lot of 2s versus 1s, so he's blocking good players. I think he's continued to get better. You know, player development never stops, even during the season. He's a guy that's, you know, continued to improve his game.
Josh Sweat has had his 3 best seasons with you and Nick. Why do you think that is?
Not because me and Nick. He's a really good player. Why we acquired him. You know, what's funny, I was talking with him the other day, and Birch is standing there, and Birch is kind of laughing, and he's like kind of, you know, Birch is a rookie coming in, knows the type of player that he is, you know, all that stuff, his history, I would say, and what he's done up until this point, you know, how he affects the quarterback. And if you look, it's a lot of like technique-driven things, you know, that he's just on it, you know, and he's a guy that he's helped some, you know, Birch especially because he's a rookie coming in, of actually how to study who you're going up against, what they like to do. What they like to do versus me is not going to be what they like to do versus you. You outweigh me by 40 pounds, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of layers to at the NFL. I always say, is an open book test. You know, the answers are out there, but you got to study and you got to dig deep, right? And when you're talking about that particular position and that type of production, it's a lot of one-on-one battles, you know, so you got to be able to learn how to study the opponent the correct way, and know what you're looking for, and then go apply it on the grass. I think Sweaty does a really good job of that.
Why is he so effective moving from both sides?
He's got tools to use when he's on the right and when he's on the left, you know. He's comfortable. The first thing, a lot of guys that don't like to do that is they're not comfortable in a different stance. You know, he's comfortable in both stances. He's comfortable with where his edge arm is going to be, I would say, his post arm, where that is, and then what moves to apply, you know. It starts with, though, like, get off and approach and your angle, and then a point of combat, what's going on, and then how do you finish, you know. And Sweaty's a high producer.
With Frier, he was obviously an undrafted guy. I know when you get into training camp, you're not caring about their draft labels, but what was it that he showed you throughout minicamp and training camp to kind of outplay kind of where he was valued by 31 other teams?
I mean, the first thing is his brain. Really smart. And like what we've taught you, like, well, JG, it's a tackle. Like, you don't have to do too much. You do pre-snap. You know, you got to know what's going on. You know, knowing and knowing are two different things. And when you know and you're not sped up with what is going on before the ball snapped, or then after the ball snapped, you can hopefully apply your technique and win your one-on-one. So his brain, he's really smart. And then he kind of knows his style, knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses, and plays to them. And again, it's a guy that has really done a good job of improving his game since he's been here, you know, and the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be. It's a good question, too.
What's been your evaluation of how the tackles have done as that sixth offensive lineman?
As the sixth offensive lineman, I think we've done some good things, you know, like you talked about, you know, that with the groups and different things, like it provides, you know, some flexibility with what you're trying to do. A little bit of that was when we lost Tip and then we lost Travis, you know, how do you want to kind of get to these different surfaces in the run game, or if you're putting a guy one-on-one with a defensive end, like, do you feel good about that matchup on mixed downs, play actions, things like that? I think Drew and Justin have done a good job mixing those guys in. We'll continue to use it too.
For Michael Wilson, he might not ever match those stats again, right? I mean, like 18 targets.
Maybe this week he will.
In terms of sustainability.
That'd be cool. It'd be nice.
Just, you know,
we need it. Go ahead.
Being a playmaker, just the sustainability of him continuing to be, you know, a premier playmaker like that. How realistic is that?
I think it's very realistic, you know. But again, like, if you look at just Mike as an overall player, right? He can play in different spots. He can get open first, second, third level. He's physical and he's got really good ball skills, you know. And he uses the tools that he has to make plays for you. So when the ball goes to him, he can make a lot of those plays. The other thing, too, that goes under the radar, even sometimes for me, like there's some instincts involved with getting open and catching the ball, right? What do I say? What do you want a receiver to do? Get open and catch it, right? Well, you know, they're a 12-yard in cut, a 12-yard dig cut on paper. Here's the route. But, oh, by the way, when we call this, if they rip 5, there's no one in the middle of the defense, and you know they're in man-to-man, like, do you want to run that at 12 yards and lean on the guy and snap it off? Sometimes. Other times you want to run 4 yards, 5 yards, snap it off, and get the ball. Like, get open, right? And there's instincts involved in that. It's like coaching a DB, like alignment, assignment, key technique. You get this release. Here's where I want your position. Here's what you're doing. You got guys that one time they squeeze an inside release and they get a dig cut and they knock the ball down. Then the next time they don't squeeze it and they get an outside cut. And it's like, well, why didn't you squeeze it? I just knew he was coming out. Like you can coach a lot, but there's certain instincts involved in playing every position that it's hard to, you know, get your players to comprehend, you know, what is needed to win the down. Certain players kind of have that feel and those instincts, so to speak, you know. That's a big debate. Can you coach instincts? Can't you? You know, you get a lot of different answers with that if you ask a lot of guys. But I think he has really good feel and instincts of playing the position.
With the way your offense is set up, obviously, Marv and Trey are very often the first rates. Is there stuff that Mike can show you with what he's shown you so far that would change some of that? Yeah, well, even when Marv comes back, there's going to be maybe more looks than there were previously.
No, because I think it's a collective effort, you know, and you're trying to put guys in the right spots, this and that. And what I would say, kind of to piggyback off that, Teo, is, you know, how many targets did Mike get? Well, when you're the lead receiver, for whatever reason, you're going to get more targets than being the 2 or the 3. We have a premier tight end as well, so you're trying to get him the ball too, right, where he's first in the read, as he should be. So there's just not, unless you throw the ball however many times, like there's not a, if go look at the third option in passing offenses, how many targets are they getting a week? You know, it's probably not a ton, you know, 4.5. But my point is, like, he got a lot of targets in that game because it was all known pass because the score where it wasn't where it needed to be in that game. But going back to your question, Teo, yes, absolutely. You know, like we can still feature him. You still want to get the ball to all your playmakers, you know, and you got to put them in the right spots to do that and take advantage of how they're defending you too.
So there is a chance that you maybe change up a few plays to be, okay, well, Mike's going to be on first read on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like first read. It's more so what are you attacking? What is the concept of the play? How does Jacobe being it's seen, read out, and how those routes are run, where his eyes are, and what we're trying to get accomplished with the people we have versus what they're doing. You know what I mean? Is there some of, yeah, this ball's first read is like no matter what, like Trey or Marv or Mike? Yeah, there's some of that, but that doesn't mean the ball is going to always go there either, you know? And like I say, they have a say too. So, you know, that's an age-old problem. Like we want to get this guy the ball. Everybody has it. Not, you know, us at times. Everybody has it. Any team I've been on has it. Like, well, this guy can't be stopped. Well, if they're giving you looks that it's really that's not where the ball should go, there's a fine line to say throw it over there or get onto your next progression. You know, so and every game plays out a little bit different.
From a defensive coach's perspective, what are the challenges of facing a tight end like Trey who has an extensive route tree you can run, kind of routes like a receiver?
The hardest thing for me is where you align those guys, you know, because again, there's tools you can use defensively to take away where they want to go with the ball. I think it's a tad easier to apply tools when guys are out in space, not in line. Now, there's defensive geniuses that have done it when it's that type of a player. You have tools to use, but those tools are not accessible, and then it really stresses out other people when you have a big-time eye on that guy. But you've seen there's been people that we've played this year that have put 2 on him. I mean, legitimately 2 people on Trey, you know, and that's cool. If that's how they choose to defend, you know. So I think it's just, you know, whether you're playing zone or man, it's just the matchup's a little bit different, and how you're deploying them can be a challenge. It's a lot of layers to have that ruled out with what you're trying to defend from where he's aligned and what he's doing.
You've seen Jacobe at different stages of his career. What has he shown now? What has he shown the rest of the league now that could help him in the future?
I don't think he's shown the league anything. Everybody knows he can play, truthfully. Really good guy, and he functions really well. He's got really good command. He's got a big arm, you know. He's a good football player. I think the world knows that.